Okay, so today, the infamous Jeff strikes again.
And what has Jeff struck us with?
Another great video idea.
Go Jeff.
Hi, I'm Mandy,
I'm Ben.
and this is Mandy's Mini. So today we're going to be talking about finding color in your highlights and shadows for a more realistic paint job.
All right, so how do I, who've painted 8 minis, what do I need to know?
Well, there's a jump in there. You went from 5 to 6 to 8.
I haven't painted everything on screen. I don't have to paint it. I don't have to paint for them.
I'm your wife sitting right next to you every time you're painting and haven't seen those minis.
I have days off. You don't know everything I do.
Okay. So, color theory. Color theory is complex.
That's why I let her explain it.
I'm going to turn this topic over to someone that I would deem as the greatest miniature painting teacher on YouTube, Venturella. No, we didn't get him to guest star.
Damn.
We're not cool enough to actually know him.
Met him once. He's a great guy.
Yes. But I did reach out and get permission for us to use some of his footage explaining these items. So with that, we're going to turn this over to Vince.
Hello everybody and welcome to another hobby cheating video. It is easier for you right now to read the word at the bottom of the page than it is to read the word at the top of the page, because the word contrast at the bottom of the page has a higher value contrast. It just makes it easier to read. And in the same way it makes the word easier to read, this alternation of light and dark makes your miniatures easier to read. When you take something that's 6 feet tall and you shrink it down to an inch, which is basically a 25mm miniature, obviously our minis are now often much taller than that, being in 28 or 32 mil scale, they're still shrunk well down as far as scale goes, so we have to increase the contrast to increase the readability. I think where a lot of people get lost is I see people say, well, I was trying to make it realistic. No, that's not really our goal here, because you're not painting something realistic, you're painting a tiny person. And this tiny person, to be readable, has to have a higher level of contrast than if someone was 6 feet tall.
We're going to go over my top 3 techniques, and for those who stick around to the end, a bonus technique for finding color that will give you natural looking shadows and highlights. You can use a reference photo and bring it into a photo editing software. I'm using Photopea since it's a free online editor, so if you don't have one, that's a good one to use. Once you have the photo open, use the color picker tool to select the shadow, and then find a similar color from your paint selection. This is great to find difficult shadows, such as the one with the white dress. You'll notice these shadows aren't just gray or black. It's actually more of a blue. It's that simple. Next, I'm going to show you how to make any dark color work for a shadow and any light color work for a highlight. Better yet, this only requires 2 techniques, layering and glazing. We're going to start by base coating in the shadow color. Some people like to start in the midtones, but I find it better to start in the darker tones and work your way up. That way all the vibrance from multiple layers is in the midtones and highlights. Next, we're going to layer up with a second shadow color by creating a 50-50 mix of the shadow color and the midtone. This will help unify the 2 colors. Remember when layering to leave a little bit of the previous color showing still. in this case, in the darkest recesses. Next, we're going to layer up with the midtone, then a first highlight that is a 50-50 mix of the midtone and the highlight color, and finally, a few dots of the highlight color where the brightest highlights would be. Sometimes I like to get lazy and just pick a shadow color and highlight. Then the 50-50 mix is a midtone. After we have all our layers on, we're going to take the midtone and create a glaze by thinning it with water or glaze medium. I always like to keep a scrap model next to me to do a test when creating a glaze. That way I ensure the consistency is correct before I put it on my model. We're going to glaze from the highlight to the shadow. The largest quantity of the pigment will be deposited where you stop. This should adjust all the tones slightly, bringing them more in line with the midtone so that you get that cohesive feeling. You may need to apply the glaze multiple times depending on the result you would like to see. This process really works with any color. As Vince would say, the more colors you can incorporate, the more visual confusion and interest you can build in your color scheme. Next, we're going to look at two more techniques that give you an interesting and cohesive result.
And on figures that have lots of different colors in play, say Space Marines with a bisected scheme, or your old school Empire models or Free People's models, anything like that where you have lots of colors in play, using a single highlight tone like Flesh Tone can be a great way to make them look uniform and as though they're under the same light. And much like with Sunny Skin Tone or a bright Caucasian Flesh Tone, you can highlight any color with that. And today we're going to show you how you can shade any color with one color. I think it's oftentimes a habit that people will just go to a darker version of an existing color, but that makes your fig less interesting. So today we're going to talk about colors you can use to shade anything.
When working with global highlights and shadows, the colors unify every aspect of the model, which is great for dioramas, setting a scene, or even just to turn off your brain and not think. I like to use a really dark purple or blue for the shadows and an ice yellow or golden blonde for the highlights to make everything look like it's in the same environment. I grab my colors and then I only have to think about what midtone I want. We use the same layering and glazing as previously, but this time your shadow and highlight color will be the same for the skin, clothes, leather, accessories, and so on. Finally, we're going to talk about mother colors. This is a technique I picked up from Ninjon, another YouTube channel that I think you should check out. I absolutely love it. Maybe one day we can figure out how to be as entertaining as him. But to get back on track, this time we're going to pick one unifying color to work through every color on the model. Regardless if it's a shadow, midtone, or highlight, every color you use gets a little bit of the mother color worked in. The more you add, the larger that color's effect will be. So if you're going for something natural, you want to keep the amount small. However, when I was creating my sunset fairy display, I used a heavy amount of pink to affect all the colors and give the sense of an environment of a setting sun. I am also using this technique on a mermaid that's still a work in progress. I want to show the feeling of being underwater with the color temperatures and lighting. But you'll have to wait until I get some time to finish that one before you can see it. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up here. I hope that you give some of these different techniques a try and let us know in the comments how they worked. And then also be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, ring the bell.
Do all the things.
Right. And also, one very big special thank you to Vince Venturella for allowing us to use his footage. I really recommend you check out his channel because we do absolutely love his videos.
Don't get too lost in his backlog, though. Come back and visit us sometime.
But he does have a huge backlog, and pretty much any topic you can think of about miniature painting, he's got at least one, probably 2 or 3 videos on it. So I've really learned a lot from watching his channel, so I would definitely recommend checking it out. And again, just a big thank you, Vince, you're the best.
So until next time, have fun.
And keep creating. Bye.
Bye.